Go. All right. All right, hello. This is Brian, and today we're gonna talk about chord substitutions. Um, I'm gonna use the song Auld Lang Syne, which I just put out a video for last week. And Happy New Year, everyone! This is the first live stream of the new year. And I got a lot of positive response for that song, and so I thought I'd kind of break down what I did in terms of taking it from being a folk song with just a few chords and expanding it to a kind of like a jazz arrangement with the same melody. And so that's chord substitutions. That's what we're doing today. And I've got kind of a cool setup. I hope this works. All right. So what I've got now is I'm gonna show you the basic melody of the song with basic chords, and then we're gonna break down. I've got 3 ways that you can use chord substitutions, and we'll kind of work through this arrangement to talk about that. Okay, so the first one is actually, let me just play you the original, sort of like the folk way of playing this song, right? And that's super simple. It goes in the key of C to a G7, right? Back to a C to an F, right? If we just look at the chords, it's just C da da da, G7 da da ba da, C, C7 to F, right? Now, let's talk about the first of 3 types of chord substitutions that I use in this arrangement. If you look at the bottom part of what I'm showing here, that's the result of my chord substitutions. The first of which is what I just call like inversions, or alternate ways of playing the same chord, right? So for instance, you can have a C chord, like a general C chord, but there's other ways to play C, like C major 7, like that. Here's a C major 7 like that. Oh wait, you get that here. So you've got like this C, right? And then you've got that C major 7. These are all versions of C. Here's another, like a C major 6. That's another C major 6, right? C major 7. And the goal here, right, is like if you can start using some of these alternate ways of playing these chords, then it kind of adds a little bit of movement to the song, right? So, for instance, in that first measure, I did like, should all acquaintance be? To get to that G7, I've got that whole measure. Well, I can change that C halfway through, which is why I did C, right? I put a B in the bass. It kind of makes it like a major 7, but it's also just like an alternate bass line. So it's like that kind of thing, right? So that's how I got to the G7. So that's the first type of chord substitution, right? It's like an inversion. Just knowing different ways of playing a major chord or a minor chord or dominant. Okay, the next way of doing a chord substitution is doing what's called a relative major and relative minor, right? And to keep it simple, like if you just look at C major, like this, right? The relative minor of C major is A minor, okay? If you look at the root note of C, and you just go down 3 half steps, all right? That's how you get to your relative minor. And it works both ways, of course. Going from A minor, of the relative major, is C major. So when I look now at like the third measure, right, where I've got this, instead of going back to a C, you can go to an A minor, right? And that's just another way to kind of like change. You're still sort of like honoring the melody and that tonality of C, but you're using the minor version of it, like that, right? And you find this a lot in pop music, right? For instance, in the song "Let It Be" by the Beatles, the verse, right, is like, it starts in a C. When I find myself in times of trouble, right? Mother Mary calls to me. Speaking words of wisdom, let it be. When they go to the chorus, they actually go, let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be. They did a chord substitution. They went to the relative minor. They went to that A minor. Let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be. And that's just like, you hear this a lot in pop music. People use that relative minor to just change the tonality, make it a little bit darker, but still kind of honoring the melody. So that's 2, all right? So the first one was inversions. The second one now is relative minor, relative major. The third one, and probably the one that's used the most at a sort of like basic level, because there's so much more to reharmonization and chord substitutions that, like, if you're like a serious jazz musician, like, you can go really out there. But a very common one is the use of dominant chords, okay? Particularly the movement of 5-1, okay? So for instance, if you're in the key of C, the 5, God, I keep forgetting that I have that I have this second camera here. Okay, if you're in the key of C, you've got G7 to C, right? This is your tension. That 5 chord resolves nicely to the 1, okay? And you can do that in any key, right? To the key of F, it's the 5 of F is C, C7, 1. Now, this sort of principle of using the 5 to the 1 is how you can start adding more reharmonization, some chord substitutions to your music, right? So if I took this like a very simple folk melody, right? Instead of coming back to a G7, if I know I'm going to the A minor, which is, I'm going to that A minor here, the 5 of A minor is E7, okay? So it goes like this, instead of here, right? I'm gonna go, now I'm using an E7, like that E7 to get to A minor. All right, let me show that one more time. So I did C, right? C to a G7, I'm going to a E7. I just happened to use a flat 9 on that one. E7 as the 5 going to the A minor. Again, I'm gonna use that C7, and I'm gonna play back to that first example of like playing different inversions. I'm gonna play C7 here, another C7 here, to get to this F, right? Again, this is using 5 to get back to 1, a C7 to get to an F. I'm using inversions to get up there, A minor, C7 to F. Okay. Let me just kind of dabble a couple more things in here. This F sharp diminished, if you're curious, this is, I just pulled that from like a lot of gospel music does that. When they're on the 4 chord, they like to go to the sharp 4 diminish. You know, that kind of movement. It's a very like, it's like going to church kind of music. That thing. So that's how I got from the F to the F sharp diminish. Now, let me go back here. Oh, okay. Now we're going back to the C. This is a C major 9. Again, if I were just to play the folk version of this, it's just this like C da 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 G7 da da ba da F G7 to C. But now we can do a lot more of this. Like I'm gonna go C to A minor. All right. Just as a, again, we're using the relative minor, right? A D minor. Now the D minor, the reason I'm doing this, I kind of went, it's a chord substitution of like the D minor sort of replaces the G7 because D minor and G7 are kind of used together to get back to a C, right? So I'm going D minor instead of a G7. And here I'm using that E7 like I did previously, as if to pretend I'm going to an A minor chord, right? But instead I'm sort of using this sort of what they call like a deceptive cadence. Instead of going E7 to an A minor, I'm going to like an F chord, right? Like an F to a G7, and that G7 back to a C. Okay, so let me just take you guys through this. I'm only gonna use now chords in this sort of root position to show you how I kind of work my way around these chord substitutions. Okay, so check this out. We're going should all acquaintance. We're going to G7, B for no. I'm going to do E7. Forgot. Okay, and then we're going to A minor, da 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 to F. Right. I'm going to do F sharp diminish. Da. And then we go to a C, back to da, to an A minor, da, D minor 7, da, da, to an F, and then G7, back to C. Cool. So I just want to share that with you guys. It's just kind of some of the ways that I like to maybe pull a little bit from like jazz harmony and apply it to the ukulele, especially when it comes to like arranging these sort of finger style arrangements. You know, instead of sticking to this, da, 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 you can kind of like change that kind of thing, you know? Anyway, I hope that was super useful, or at least somewhat maybe a little helpful, insightful. Again, just to recap the three ways, right? One is using inversions. 2 is to think about the relative minor, relative major. And 3 is to use dominant chords. Use the 5 of the chord that you're trying to get to, right? The 5 of A minor is E7, right? The 5 of F is C7, so that kind of thing. Cool? Yeah, well, let me know if you have questions. Leave a comment down below. If you want the tab for this, it's in the description. You can download it from Gumroad. If you like it, give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe. Hit that bell notification and leave some comments. Let me know what you guys think. If you have questions about other things, I'd be happy to do another live lesson on whatever topic you guys are interested in. All right, you guys have a good one. I'll see you around. Here we go.